Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jose Chevalier. I am a first-year medical student here at UCLA, and I served in the U.S. Navy. I was a hospital corpsman. I served for about 5.5 years. I actually transferred, aside from going to a plethora of community colleges in the Southern California area, I ended up transferring here to UCLA, where I studied chemical engineering. I was what's called a hospital corpsman. It's a fancy Navy word for essentially a medic. I was fortunate to be stationed with the 1st Marine Regiment, where I served as a combat hospital corpsman. I've always been inclined to learn medicine and to study medicine from even when I was in high school. I've always said, however, that I never had the work ethic or those like soft skills to pursue such a career. However, when I joined the military, that's when I learned and I acquired those traits. I was blessed to have a lot of good mentors that instilled in me a lot of good abilities. But when I exited out of the military, I came face to face with a lot of the realities for the veteran community, especially when dealing with substance abuse and a lot of the under-resourcedness that they run into in the medical space. I think, aside from many other motivating factors, that's my biggest one, to be able to provide a space where they are able to get access to healthcare after giving so much of themselves to our country and to our way of life. I think being in the service, it was definitely a time game. I served for 5.5 years, as I mentioned, but I didn't want to finish my service and start at square zero when it was time for me to pursue school, right? Given the understanding that, to pursue medicine, you need 4 years of undergraduate, and then you need your 4 years of medical school. I kind of wanted to be able to use my time wisely. So whenever possible, I enrolled in community college while I was actively serving. In the end, though, that's the biggest challenge I faced to myself. There were times where I had to learn complex STEM topics like, physics or calculus while being out in the field, right? And when I was supposed to be resting from a long day of operations, that was actually my time to learn and consolidate my knowledge as I would be tested when I got back from my operations. So that was definitely some nights that I think back to after being in this position today. But again, it's only made me stronger, and it has allowed me to encourage others to not let themselves be inhibited by those realities. Once you arrive in this arena that we call medical school, it's not the end all, final place, right? You still have to work for your next steps in life, right? In my particular scenario, I'm currently interested in some of the more competitive specialties in medicine. When you start talking about all of the surgical specialties, and as niche as you go, they become a lot more competitive. A lot of the students that have the resources, whether through family or through other means, are definitely at an advantage. They're able to buy a lot of these third-party resources or buy a lot of these like more realistic practicing materials and models. But students like myself sometimes are at a disadvantage because we don't really have the funds or the means to be able to acquire these very helpful resources. I think in a sense that has been the biggest part of medicine. The curricular lectures alone sometimes need to be augmented to be able to compete for those really tough specialties. Absolutely, my plan is debt. As many of us, especially in medicine, have grown accustomed to. My plan was to chalk it up to debt and to allow my later self to be able to come back and make up the difference. Also, there's a lot of picking and choosing. You can't have all of it, right? So there are some resources that you're going to have to get, and some that you're just going to have to opt out of just because you don't have the full necessity or the full means available to you, right? But this beta program that the VRC has put together, along with the funders, has been a great source of relief for a lot of us, and also like a sense of maybe a sign to continue to pursue those competitive specialties and continue to strive in this space that sometimes feels so foreign to us because a lot of us don't come from areas of affluency. I think when considering the gracious and generous donations that a lot of our funders have provided, as well as the VRC for coordinating this program to support a lot of us to pursue medicine in this high stakes game, there are two fronts which I think are primarily affected or impacted in a positive way. First and foremost, a lot of us are in medicine to pursue medicine for others, right? So let's call it like selfless medicine, right? A lot of us are in it to benefit veterans in the long run, right? To man those offices or those clinical spaces in the VA, right? And to promote health within the veteran community. So in of its own, if you're supporting veterans, you're supporting the future generations of veteran providers, and you're allowing us as veterans ourselves to care for ourselves and to bring our own experiences into that forefront. And for that, I thank you personally, because as a veteran patient myself, there's a lot of need for that in our space. And on the second front, I think that you're empowering a community of underserved and underprivileged individuals that have fought their way up to this point. And you're kind of like patting us in the back and allowing us to one, first and foremost, understand the advantages or the things that are being provided, the resources that are being provided to us. But you're also encouraging to continue to pursue and continue to strive for greater things that at some point were unimaginable to ourselves. And that, to me, is beautiful to think about because, as I mentioned, we all want to strive to go further in life. And what better place to do so than in a medical school where you come across so many different flavors of medicine and people from diverse backgrounds. And at the end of the day, we're all here to serve others. So, and yeah, you're serving people through various lenses if you think about these donations, and I am very grateful for that opportunity and to be a recipient of such. First and foremost, I am nothing without the people that have come before me, and I am nothing without the people that listen to me or allow me to influence them in any way, shape, or form. I do have great visions for the impacts that the VRC is able to do to us as students here, whether undergraduates or graduates or even alumni. But I'm very thankful because this community has enlightened my UCLA experience as a transfer undergraduate student and now as a graduate student. And ultimately, that was the biggest reason why I chose to come back to UCLA as a medical student. The veteran community here is unmatched. Second of all, I think beyond us here, I would love to see a future where we have established paths for career or professional development where people are able to go from active duty service, right, to those pipelines, educational pipelines with support systems established already to those end goal occupational positions that they achieve to go for, right? That to me is a utopian society, right? Where you finish service and you directly pipeline into educational purpose, ultimately to end up to your career and location, right? And I think the VRC is almost walking stride to that same future. I think we have similar visions in that space. So whenever I step into that room, I step into the VRC, or I go to an event and I talk to an undergraduate myself, or sometimes a potential undergraduate that's still in the application pipeline, I cannot help but see myself, a younger version of myself there. And that absolutely motivates me to give all that I have of myself to allow that person to grow and surpass anything that's imaginable, right? Because these are the examples that we set forth for the next generations. And why not give them all that we can so that they can strive further than ourselves? I want to say hi to all my people that have seen me come up from so far, from the Dominican Republic where I was born and raised, to South Florida, the Broward County community, my mom, my dad, my brothers, anyone that's had a moment to just impart something on my life and allow me to carry it forward. I thank them sincerely. Another set of people that I'm grateful to are my mentors. A lot of them being in military communities, their ranks are outdated, but HM2 Nelson, Chief Simeon, HM1 Vasquez, they served alongside with me in Camp Pendleton, and they put a lot of the traits in me that allow me to be the person that I am today. I think the military in of its own has helped me a lot because they've put people in my life that have taken me inside, right, taken me under their wing, and empowered me to be the man and the citizen that I am today. And I hope to pay that effort forward.